Welcome! This is Fatherhood in Focus, a podcast designed to help you succeed in your role as a father and maximise your impact. You and I know how isolating fatherhood can be. I learned the hard way and nearly lost everything. But I chose to fight back. Look, we are pillars of strength and resilience, crucial to our kids' development. But we often find ourselves isolated and with nowhere to turn. I'm Aidan, a father of two, founder of the Modern Fatherhood Club, and your host for today's episode. I absolutely love the role I play. It's a wild roller coaster ride with challenges at every turn. I'm naturally curious about fatherhood, frustrated by the lack of support, and disappointed in some of the choices I've made. I've felt like a failure, lived the highest highs, and even experienced the lowest of lows since I started on this journey. I'd like to think I've got this dad thing pretty nailed down, but then again, I'm still caught out. The difference I think I have is I'm writing a lot of this stuff down and it's helping me learn from my mistakes. And this podcast is about you. Each episode is designed to help you navigate fatherhood from bonding with your baby to handling the challenges of those early school years. I'm excited to have you here and hope you'll find the conversation and content useful. As with any service, I need your support. So if this is a format that's working, let me know in the comments and be sure to subscribe for more. Now let's get on with the episode. As always, I'm excited to continue on this journey with you. But above all else, I'm grateful for your time and I appreciate the work you're putting in. It's a fact. Your habits change and your relationships do too. Any healthy habits are hard to keep up because you're balancing work, supporting your partner, and let's face it, it's not like parenthood gives you that moment to breathe. Thinking back to my postnatal depression research and my own battle with depression and anxiety, I started thinking about the early pressures of fatherhood. Now, as a father of two young boys, I've become acutely aware of how stress, anxiety, and the strain of balancing fatherhood, a career, and a business can impact my relationship with my wife and my beautiful boys. And it's clear that the hidden pressures of fatherhood can lead to the symptoms of postnatal depression and those symptoms being overlooked. You're probably thinking, when are we going to move on and start talking about something else? This is it. We're closing in on the final conversations around PMD in the early episodes. In the last episode we talked about the symptoms, but today we're going to zero in on the contributing factors. As with maternal postnatal depression, a father's experience can be triggered by emotional and social and physical factors. Frankly, this is the bit that we're overlooking. I can talk to you about the symptoms, but they're a byproduct of your environment, the world around you and your past and present. And it can include anything, like a lack of time, which leads you to taking that path of least resistance. The emotional toll of fatherhood and the stress and strain you can experience in those early days. The role of your employer and how they play a massive part in your early confidence as a dad. The role of your partner and how her own experience of motherhood can create stress for both of you. There is always conflict. The demands on your time only increase as you both settle into this new routine. The choice between that healthy snack and a chocolate bar, or a pre-prepared meal and a thrown together high carb and high fat meal, are dictated by their bedtime and their mealtime routine. We've all been there. You get home and you throw something together. At times, any food is going to do. You both try your best to stay on top of it all. But with the pressures of managing your job and the new routine, something has to give. You're desperate to eat together because you become accustomed to it. And you know your relationship will benefit for some adult time. But at every opportunity to sit down, there is a distraction or an interruption. So any meal will do. With a new baby and a toddler, we managed it well. But in all honesty, COVID and lockdown played a massive part in us getting it right. It doesn't always work. And with the introduction of school, nursery, and a wife at the peak of her powers in her chosen career, we have at times just muddled through. We now focus on eating as a family, but that's in part because I exclusively work from home. My partner is home 3 days a week. Without that routine in our home, I don't think we'd be eating together, or even with the kids. Family used to be about finding time together. And for my wife, her Italian roots are important. A mealtime is very much about connecting and spending time together. Here's what makes it harder for a new dad. My personal experience, an unhealthy work-life balance contributed to me feeling unhappy. It led me to take shortcuts, and these choices that I made impacted my short-term and longer-term well-being, emotions, and my relationship with myself, my boys, and my wife. Prior to my snap in 2020, a typical day looked like this. A daily 3.5-hour round-trip commute. There were days when autopilot got me home by the seat of my pants. At 7:45, I barreled through the door to get that last cuddle before bedtime. I would rush from meeting to meeting, hour after hour, with no moment to catch my breath. Some of you might be taking that extra overtime to cover the additional cost of having kids. Just remember, that comes with a health warning too. I'd polish off a bag of cookies from Tesco's. That's the giant ones. And I wouldn't even pause to share them out. So watch out if you're prone to comfort eating. Reaching for that last cookie might just be one too many. Smashing the coffees back or a bottle of Coke just to get through the day. I've seen many a dad smash through 3 to 4 Monster energy drinks just to stay afloat. What I found is the sugar crash hits harder than the hangover. Think about those after work beers. The problem is, for me, Friday crept into Thursday, then slammed into Wednesday. So ask yourself, are Saturday beers creeping into Sunday? How's your head on Monday? Is your relationship with alcohol starting to impact you, your relationship and how you interact with the kids on the early weekend mornings? If so, think about taking a break. Another thing was hiding from past experience or painful events and choosing to push on, regardless of the longer term effects it was having on my health and well-being. Look, my snap allowed me to evaluate my choices and specifically my job. It's not easy to make changes, especially when people are depending on you. And frankly, any decision shouldn't be made lightly. COVID gave me everything I wanted. A job that worked from home and above all else, time. Working from home isn't for everybody. But when you evaluate your current situation, habits, and those things contributing to your stress levels, could you make some changes? At the end of the day, you're just a cog in a massive fucking wheel. You contribute to a business, but you're still just a number. It doesn't matter how diverse your employer is. Fatherhood and the importance of fathers at home is often overlooked. So if you get a chance to make time and space for your family without sacrificing the pounds you earn, do it. If you can afford to take a step back or to the side for a short period, recharge the batteries and get time with the kids, give it a go. Fatherhood has taught me that routine, the right choices and planning help me stay on top of my mental health. But persistence and getting the basics right have been the most important steps. Everything I've just mentioned has been altered, adjusted or removed completely. Why? Because I've survived the moment where everything came crashing down around me. I'm not telling you to cut out everything you enjoy. What I'm saying is regulate your intake. And if you need the motivation to evaluate the true cost of your current habits and behaviours and what they're doing to you and your young family, do so. I got caught out. I don't want to see you go through what I experienced. I'm grateful for hitting the bottom, but I'm more grateful for my ability to bounce back. Now think about the emotional toll of fatherhood that accompanies your role. You're working your arse off and you're pushing harder than ever. But do you ever take a minute just to stop and enjoy this wild ride? I find myself taking a moment every so often, just absorbing the chaos around or flicking through old baby pictures on my phone. Never has there been a better time in history when you can just stop and access the images of your loved ones. I dare you to sit for 5 minutes and look at images from when your kids were smaller. Tell me it didn't bring a smile to your face and lighten your mood. In Daddy Blues, Mark Williams hit the nail on the head when he turned a corner. It wasn't just baby's arrival or his partner's postnatal depression that caused him to fall. He contributed to the pain. Why? Because before baby arrived, he had failed to look after his health. His behaviour and habits later made it harder for him to cope when his back was against the wall. In my own story, the horse had bolted way before Max was born, and I was a shadow of the man I needed to become. When I needed to be present, emotionally grounded, and a connected parent, I was lost, overwhelmed, and clinging on. Fatherhood changes you, but it's failing to prepare for it that will cost you. That's why postnatal depression and the stress of fatherhood catches us out. We think we can just keep moving forward. You and I both know the Rocky quote. It's not about how hard you hit, it's about how much you can get hit and keep moving forward. Those early days are hard. I got caught blindsided, not by fatherhood, but the sheer size of the emotional shift in my world. The challenge we face is simple. There is little out there to educate on the fall of a father. The practicalities of parenting are well documented, and let's face it, you learn a lot of the stuff needed to become a successful dad on the front line. Knee deep in dirty nappies and half-eaten rusks. That said, when faced with the exhaustion, the pressure, and unable to cope, where the hell do you turn? Mentally, the enormity of the shift that we experience only hits 3 to 6 months into fatherhood. By that time, you're ill-equipped to get back on track. It might not be anything to do with fatherhood that trips you up, but when you do fall, it comes at life's greatest cost. If I'm truly honest, being the dad to 2 boys aged 4 and 7 is far harder than dealing with sleep deprivation of a new baby. This is the stage when you influence who they become. Your words, your actions, reactions, and inaction will never speak louder. Who is talking about that? If you're caught cold like I was in April 2020, then you may never truly recover. I think I'll always manage this, and my role now is made even more difficult because man to man, I've had to work at staying in control. An exercise that helps me massively is the circle of influence. The circle of influence is an exercise just to help you understand the different things you're balancing as a father. This will include things that you can control and things you can't, and it will cover most, if not all, things that make up your current role. This exercise helps you to categorise by influence what you are working on, what is stopping you from getting to that all-important project, and it also factors in things you want to focus on but can't quite get to. I typically start the process by identifying the topics that make up my circle of influence, all those things I'm either thinking about or juggling as a busy dad. These include my health, my business, my relationships, my eldest and what's going on in his world, my youngest and what's going on in his world, my partner and the challenges, goals and pressures she's experiencing, my personal goals and aspiration, my career, progress, challenges and goals, my extended family, my partner's extended family. Now within each category you might then draw out the detail. For example, if we take my health as a category, it could include diet, daily sugar intake, alcohol consumption, sleep or lack thereof it, my weight, exercise and personal exercise goals. The other example could be my relationship, and as a category that would include making space for one another, keeping the connection alive, spending quality time together, making memories a priority. Downtime, intimacy, enjoying the time we do spend together. If I adjust the lens and look at my eldest, this helps me identify what's going on in his world that I need to be aware of, some of which might impact the way I respond under pressure. It could be anything from recent feedback from his school, his confidence, things that trigger his stress and anxiety, finding out the things that he enjoys and focusing on them, his emotional responses, how to help him remain calm and learn to understand his feelings, celebrating and rewarding his behaviour and progress, nurturing his confidence, spending one-on-one time together, finding things that we have in common and making the most of them, and his relationship with his brother. These are just a few examples, but the objective is to identify the categories that matter and have an influence over you. This isn't a to-do list. It's designed to help you focus on what's important and illustrate the emotional load you carry. First off, I want you to craft your categories and make sure you have a comprehensive list that touches all the different areas of your life. It's important to focus on health, your goals, your career, and each individual family member. Then underneath, you will need to list out the different things that make up each category. If you're a new dad, your categories could include mum, baby, you, your career, extended family members. Things that impact your partner could include sleep, loneliness, feeding schedules, various baby-related activities and appointments, exhaustion, any specific challenges she might be facing with baby, her happiness and emotional state. Your objective is to identify the things that impact you and everyone around you. And once you have that list, you'll be in a position to prioritise what's important, what can't be moved, what you can control, and ultimately what is outside your control. As a father, you're going to face many challenges across a range of different categories. There will be things that add value, things that create conflict, and things that need to change or that need to be worked on. This isn't about creating this extensive to-do list. It's simply about understanding everything you're trying to balance. Your key task is to separate the things that you control from the things that are outside your control and add little value to your world and the lives of those you love. Take an overbearing family member. In the early days, they believe they're contributing and providing a support base. However, they might be creating unnecessary stress for your partner and conflict between the two of you. The circle of influence allows you to quickly establish the things that matter and help you focus on the positive impact you can have. In the early days, after I faced up to how I was feeling, this helped me understand what I was carrying and prioritise the things that would add value to me and my boys and my partner. As you desperately try to strike the right balance, this tool can help you work on things that build a deeper connection with your kids and help you put to one side those things that might be adding to the weight and expectation of fatherhood. I've said it before, I don't want to see my sons end up like me. It frightens me to death, but it also provides me with the necessary motivation to stay afloat. Nothing will make me prouder if I can see them grow in confidence, learn to manage the world around them, and silence the influences that may one day shatter their belief in their ability. This isn't covered by organisations focused on getting the basics right. A dad can be changed overnight, depending on the first experiences of fatherhood, those decisions he may have to make in the delivery room as a baby and mum fight for their lives could shape the next 3 to 6 months of his life. You need to engage better and to start preparing mentally and physically for baby's arrival. Postnatal depression, parental burnout, depression, anxiety, anger, frustration, and a sense of hopelessness are all real. If you think surviving is the way forward, think again. You could be isolated from day one, either by choice or because of the lack of support available. Frankly, your willingness to engage, to prepare, and to talk about the stuff that's sitting heavy on your heart will help you navigate the ups and downs of modern fatherhood. That first period will shape you as a father. Nobody is coming to ask you how you are, and that's why the Modern Fatherhood Club exists. The government aren't backing you. If they were, they'd have your back financially and help you make the connection you want to have in those formative days. Your employer plays a massive part in your early success. They either provide an enhanced paternity package or they don't. But depending on the options available, you're either starting off on the front foot or you're against the ropes, clinging on like your life depended on it. The pressures on mum during and post-maternity leave are well documented, and many organisations are beginning to offer a better than statutory offering. For many though, not getting an enhanced package, the drop in salary, just isn't viable, and that can create a divide early on between employee and employer, mum and dad. In the early days, a family needs unity and stability. Forcing you to choose between staying at home and returning to work creates unnecessary pressure, which in turn can create a conflict that leaves you unsure of your position. This is unacceptable. That lack of support leaves you feeling isolated, and the isolation slowly eats away at your confidence. I know that had I not had that enhanced paternity package, I'd have thought differently about taking time off. If paternity leave isn't available, then you're faced with taking annual leave. That's a terrible option. It can create even more stress and pressure on the family down the line when he's unable to take time off to support his partner because he's burned through his allowance. Ask yourself this: if you had a baby recently, did your employer encourage you to take time to be with your baby? If they did, was that time paid at your standard salary, or were you forced to make that sacrifice? If you were, that's not support. We'd rather invest in the 0.5% or create cultures that tolerate excuses or create more sick days for people to take. I worked for a fantastic employer. They had it all right: maternity leave and shared parental leave. But where was the education around fatherhood? Is it an employer's role to get involved in that conversation? To a point, I believe yes. The lack of employer engagement is contributing to a lack of understanding on the challenges that we face. That lack of engagement from your employer, as a dad, creates resentment and apathy. With your commitment to the company ethos no longer aligned, it'll only be a matter of time before you leave. This lack of awareness and education at a corporate level can also undermine the relationship between mum and dad and contribute to the behaviours experienced by many who have suffered with postnatal depression. The harsh truth of it is that companies aren't set up to offer support to new dads. Companies are happy to promote men's health, but when it comes to a father's health, there is little support or expertise on offer. In fact, most organisations aren't dedicating resources or well-being projects to this critical subject. The adjustment a father experiences and the decisions that many fathers must take in the early moments of parenthood are completely ignored. Many are expected to return to work and nothing ever happened. So what do we do when we need to talk to someone? Where do we turn if we're struggling? I can't turn to my employer. They know about as much as I do about a dad's mental health. They know about as much as I do about a dad's mental health. My GP might know a bit and point me in the right direction, but I'll be honest, I'll be on a waiting list for prescribed drugs or some cognitive behavioural therapy. My local community offers me next to nothing, and there certainly isn't a group to help me chat this shit through. So what do? You tell me. For me, as someone who walked back into work after taking paternity and suffering a massive mental snap, it would have been useful to ask how dad was, not just mum. People pat me on the back all the time about the work I'm doing. I'm grateful for their support and I appreciate them taking a moment to thank me. What I want to see is more people involved in the conversation. I need to hear more voices. Organisations are petitioning the government to extend maternity leave and provide greater financial incentive for dad to get involved. For this to work, you, the dad, have to buy in. The government have to be interested and your employer has to want to add more value to you and your family. Your engagement is key. We won't understand things like postnatal depression and the challenges facing dad if you're not alive to it. But Aidan, this is fatherhood. It's relentless and you can't take a moment to catch your breath. Yeah, that'd be true if we were better engaged and the resources were available and the research was done to illustrate the importance of dad and his mental health and how he plays a pivotal role in shaping his children and the environment that they need to thrive in. Change starts with policy, communication, commitment and research. Nothing gets started without funding. Without you contributing your voice, there is no spark. My partner, her experience of motherhood played a massive part in my personal experience. It wasn't just her own journey, but what she later experienced once she returned to work. Calm and serene, thoughtful, and with everything planned, what more could I expect? Everything went according to plan. Perhaps that's what caught me by surprise. There was a little moment during Henry's birth when he emerged into the world in silence. That moment of silence sent me into panic. I'm not sure. Did it have a profound impact on us in the early hours? I don't know, but let's walk back to those earliest moments. She's just given birth. Your employer may have granted you paternity leave and even topped up your paternity pay. What if there are complications with baby's arrival? What if mum was hospitalised or forced to take a load off in the first few weeks and months to regain her strength? In some cases, you're forced to choose between your family and your career and even job security. Without any backing or support, you can find yourself isolated and in some instances overwhelmed. You'll shoulder the strain, but at some point you'll crack under the enormity of the pressure. You will, of course, battle on and do your best to support her whilst trying desperately to wrestle with the guilt you feel when leaving them at home. You silently wrestle with that guilt and probably never tell a soul, but it will eat away at you. These are the pressures you might not even be alive to or even experience. For clarity, nobody talks about this and educates the family unit on this as we plough through that first year. Mum, in some cases, is forced to choose between motherhood and her career. Even if she had enhanced maternity, is she really going to get the support she deserves as she returns to work? Or will she be just another returning mum? We've all seen and heard it. She'll have another baby soon and be back off maternity in no time. Or she can cover the basic tasks. She's been out for 12 months and will need time to catch up and get back up to speed. She'll have worked to create a name for herself and have built a reputation for herself. But once she has a baby, she's back to square one. As a father, you don't see it. It's not something you've experienced, and at times you'll say the wrong thing whilst trying to find the words to help her feel valued and confident. There is also the war she wages on the establishment, fighting alone to be recognised for her contribution to a business. I've seen it firsthand. There is this misconception that she's happy to give up work or take a shift with a lower number of hours to help her balance her commitment to the family home. Let's face it, it's not the rising cost of living that will catch her out or force her hand. It's the cost of childcare. It's destroying her sense of independence, and it's stopping her building her own story, the one that for some is just as important as being mummy. Again, as a new father or even experienced pro, this isn't in the manual. These are the pressures of modern fatherhood. Her decision to sacrifice what she's worked her entire life for becomes unattainable. She's got to drop everything to stay at home because childcare cost is preventing her from returning to work. Now, I appreciate some mums are higher earners and will have other challenges, but in many cases, mum's career is shelved. If she's fortunate to get back into work and not face the early obstacles, she'll still face barriers to her progression. Her commitment will be questioned because you are, as a family, navigating the ever-changing landscape of parenting. This too will play on her mind and create friction. If you don't understand it, we'll start to recognise the pressure she's facing the moment baby arrives. As we bring this episode to an end, the pressures on a new father aren't equal to those of other experiences, but they are real and unsupported, ignored and left to muddle through. A father's health, mental and physical, can deteriorate over time, resulting in depression, anxiety, stress, or even postnatal depression. His pride will see him push on, but employers need to get better at managing and supporting new fathers as they navigate the early weeks and months of parenthood. The early pressures of fatherhood are a melting pot of contributory factors, some within our control and others well outside our control. We have to take better care of ourselves and start to do so before baby arrives. But the reality is, many won't. Work and bad habits become your escape. You throw yourself in because you're not ready to face the reality that it can be a wonderful yet lonely experience. You have a major role in the survival of your new family. And with money tight, if your partner isn't on an enhanced maternity pay, you go all in. You push hard and hope that your hard work pays off. If it doesn't, then you'll have to live with the regrets of missing some of the most beautiful moments in a baby's life. Guess what? That creates pressure. The resentment builds and the world around you starts to darken. Your relationship suffers and your confidence takes a beating. Your relationship dynamic, the time available for you as a couple diminishes, and the added pressure of balancing baby's needs with the needs of your relationship result in you sacrificing the latter, and in some cases, ignoring it completely. If you're listening to this, did you prepare? I suspect, like me, you were conditioned to take the biggest step in your life in your stride, and you stepped into the void, not knowing what might happen. I chose not to prepare beyond what I believed I needed to prepare for. When it hit the fan, I was ill-prepared and ill-equipped. Was it having a baby that tipped me over the edge? Yeah, Look, the horse may have already bolted, and now you're playing catch-up. Managing your health and well-being must be part of everyday life. A healthy, confident father understands his role and recognises the impact his decisions can have on the future of his partnership and children. But he also accepts that he cannot do it alone, and pushing on through gritted teeth is not a long-term, sustainable solution. As a society, we must get better at protecting both parents. You are accountable to your kids. If you struggled like I did, it could be postnatal depression. All the symptoms point to you overlooking those things that, when they mount up, catch you out. But it's also about everything else around you. Ultimately, your partnership is under scrutiny from the moment baby arrives, and supporting the family unit from day one must be our priority. We must ensure that both mums and dads are not lost to this battle. Without better education and advancement in the protection of new families, we will continue to face an uphill battle. That said, how you approach those early days plays a pivotal role in how you grow together and how you thrive in your role as parents. Empathy and active listening will play a massive part. She will want to be heard, and you need to be heard. In 2024, it cannot be acceptable for you to face these challenges alone. We must bang the drum and highlight the needs of a father and the importance of his role. Yes, it starts at home. Yes, you're responsible for how you adapt to this exciting new challenge. But your employer, your community, society, legislation, your partner must position themselves to support you as you embrace this challenge. I respect everything you do for your family, and I understand the pressure you're under. I'm here to tell you, pushing on with no concern for your health and well-being will catch you out. If it does, it will take you out of the knees. Before you know it, your whole world will be spinning out of control. Take it from me. Interrupt the cycle and start to make subtle changes that protect your mental health. You will feel the benefits. They will see them. Remember, the Modern Fatherhood Club has your back. If there is something you need to discuss, never be afraid to reach out, and I'll be back soon with the next instalment. Resources in today's episode are designed to hit home and raise the profile of the importance of a father's struggle. Fatherhood in Focus will continue to bring these messages to the forefront of our minds and focus on the reality of modern fatherhood. Like anything, you have to work hard at it. Perseverance, resilience, effort, and a willingness to give it everything is just part of your story. Your struggle, emotions are things that you are conditioned to keep to yourself. Someone asked me why I haven't stopped working on this project and what keeps me going. The answer is simple. Look at your kids. Every motivation to stay on track, to fight back, is right there. No matter how hard it is and how much pain you carry, they need you. They don't need you to step up. That's on you. They need you to be present, free from conflict, and accessible. My biggest fear is that I'll fail my boys. My resources, courses, videos, and everything I write or record is designed to help dads who, like me, may have lost their way. I know you because I know me. The only difference is that I'm one step further ahead. My fear of failure pushes me on, but in reality, that biggest fear is really simple. If my sons become the man I once was, then I haven't given them what they need. Love your journey, focus on the impact that you have, and give them everything you have, but not at the expense of your health, confidence, passion, and love for life. This has been Fatherhood in Focus. Thank you for listening.